This meeting is being streamed live to the Carroll Media Center's YouTube channel as well as the town's Facebook page. I will call the meeting to order. Good evening and welcome to the Town of Sykesville's Mayor and Town Council meeting. Today is Monday, July 8th, 2024. We call the meeting to order at 7:01. We begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And that brief moment of silence, please. Every time.
You knock something over?
My flag bit the dust. Thank you so much. This is why he gets paid the big bucks. Thank you. Yeah, just do it just like that. Thank you, Joe. So the first matter of business, I should say, is public comments. Has there been anyone sign up for public comments?
There has been no one signed up, Mayor.
All right, so I shall skip right to our consent agenda and ask if everyone, or presume that everyone has read and reviewed the minutes. Are there any comments or need for requests for changes? Great. So with hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the minutes or the consent agenda.
Excellent.
I second.
Thank you. So the motion is made by Council President and seconded by Council Member Guroff. All in favor of approval of the consent agenda, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And no abstentions. So the consent agenda is approved unanimously. We will jump directly to our announcements and reports. This is the best kind of agenda. I will start with those announcements. The next meeting is Monday, August 12th, 2024, and ask that the public not get used to such short agendas. We have volunteer opportunities available, or you guys, on the Parks and Recreation Commission, Planning Commission, Crossing Guard, and Police Auxiliary. If interested in any of these or other volunteer opportunities, please email town@sykesville.net for more info. And I turn to our town manager for the beginning of our staff updates.
Mayor,
Oh,
if I
so
may
sorry.
go back to the next meeting, did you want to discuss the potential change now, or do you want?
Yes, I should have done that without a note here. I appreciate you
That's
for
okay.
that. Thank you. So our next scheduled meeting is Monday, August 12th. Staff and I have discussed a very, I guess, slim agenda for that as a possibility, and even thinking that no matter of business is important enough to us to come together that evening. So we're looking to change not only the date, but also consider canceling an actual business meeting and perhaps shift it to a workshop, work session. And we're up to doing it, at least I and staff are up to doing that on another weeknight besides Monday, August 12th, or even consider a Saturday few hour work session. And I wasn't sure if y'all want to kind of spitball that now or not. Thank you for reminding me.
I'm out of town the 12th, so I was looking
Okay.
at either the 13th or the 19th.
Okay. Okay. You guys would prefer a weeknight, is what you're saying? A week?
Yes.
over
Doesn't
Saturday?
matter to me.
Okay. Okay. So we could push it to the 19th? Everybody's good with the 19th of August?
Same time, 7 o'clock?
Same time? Yeah, that would work, unless you guys want to move it to a 6 or 6:30 situation.
Either is fine.
I'm good moving it to 6:30.
Let's start at 6:30 on the 19th.
Yeah.
If everybody's okay with that.
Everybody good?
What's the hope of the?
The goal?
Yeah.
We're actually going to be speaking about operations and plans to move forward as far as town growth,
Okay.
and specifically also our town manager's performance appraisal for the year.
Awesome.
Will that also still involve the restaurant, train station?
It very much could and probably will. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Including having the
Stakeholder.
stakeholder. That's a good way of explaining it.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah,
guess
or-
we could consider that. Invite the owner of our new tenant to the station for that evening as well. He probably would appreciate the timing of that.
Okay.
So that'll be included as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Excellent. So 6:30, August 19th, for a work session, not a business meeting. Awesome. Thank you, guys. And now I'll turn it over to Joe.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
Again, just to build on that discussion real quick, obviously our tenant down at the station building is still working on, getting certain cost estimates and things like that ready and prepared so that he can do a presentation for council. So we'll just put a caveat on that assuming they're ready by the 19th.
Good deal.
They should be. There shouldn't be any issues there, but again, I wanted to throw that caveat out.
Good deal.
Just a few updates mainly for the public. I know I've informed council, at least by email, on some of these things, but Springfield Avenue continues to be obviously behind schedule, at least behind the completion date. They hope to have it completed this summer. That's at least pushed to this fall. And just so everybody knows, there is a new stockpile location that they're working on. It's actually going to be over in Warfield, so it's a little bit further away, but again, hopefully it'll get some of the eyesoreness off of Springfield Avenue. Won't smooth anything out just yet, but
Won't smooth out the heartache, but perhaps
smooth
the
out
eye
the
soreness.
Exactly.
Yes, okay.
And then Main Street, we're still working on getting a update on the paving date. So again, the state had hoped to have Main Street repaved after some of the stormwater repairs that they had done by the end of June. That obviously has not happened. Because they've now switched fiscal years, and again, this is just me saying this, not from SHA, I have a feeling they're now going to wait until Springfield Avenue is over before they actually try to repave it. I could be wrong. They could give me another date here coming up, but again, the fact that they were trying to get it done before the end of the fiscal year, and when that didn't happen, it seems to have extended the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, can I just ask on that,
Sure.
just for the public? We've already been through repaving on Main.
Right.
So what would that, is it the top layer like we talked about before, or should we anticipate again,
On Main Street?
everything coming up and businesses disrupted? And
No, they'd mill it again and then put another top layer down.
So that there'll be a seamless connection throughout the entire Maryland 851. They almost have to do that. Yeah.
What's the projected timeline for
I'm
that
talking
from
hours.
start to finish? No, not when they're gonna do it, but how long will it take for them to do it?
Paving?
Mhm.
Just Main Street, you're talking a couple days. Usually it's a day to mill and another day to come back
Okay.
and pave.
But it'll be one lane at a time.
No, they'll probably mill the entire area.
But still but flag and allow the street,
Yeah, I know when they paved what's out there now, they did shut it down for the whole thing for about 30 minutes or so when the asphalt was just setting up.
Sure.
For the most part, it was a flagging operation.
Great. Thank you. Good question. Thanks.
We did get a few calls and actually C-Click fix requests about College Avenue. I know not a lot of people drive on the other side of 32 and College Road there, but there was reports of a sinkhole forming in the one lane that goes back there. We are having, we've reached out to Carroll County Utilities. It seems like, I don't know if it's necessarily a sinkhole, but it does seem like there's a water leak or something that's causing erosion on the road there. And again, because it was wet and it hasn't rained and
Right.
any kind of significant, there shouldn't be a puddle out there. So we've had Carroll County Utilities go out and take a look, but I wanted to make sure this council knew in case a resident or anybody reached out that we are efforting that and trying to figure out exactly what the cause of that issue is.
Okay.
And then finally, just to comment on the splash pad, it's been very hot and they're therefore very busy up at the splash pad. There's been lots of buses and daycares that have come and dropped kids off and started to use the pad. Maybe not necessarily exactly as we intended it when it first opened. So there have been at least 2 or 3 requests about a potential policy or something that the town could do to limit activity at the splash pad. So again, staff is going to start looking at that and figure out if there are any options available to us. But again, and we kind of knew this when the splash pad was installed, it's basically in an open area and it's not going to be easy to...
Right. The park itself is open to the public.
Correct. It's not going to be easy to enforce that kind of restriction there. But again, because we did get the request from the public on several occasions, we'll take a look and see if there's some other kind of policy that we can
Joe, could we do something unless authorized, because I know people will rent out the pavilions and then might have more kids unrelated to them than adults. If there was maybe some policy about if you're not renting out space, X number of minors to unrelated adults or something like that, so
Well,
if it
again,
doesn't impact families.
we can create any policy that we want. It's the enforcement of that policy that always
Right.
becomes the difficult part because again, it's open 6 days a week. It's closed only on Tuesdays. So it's we simply don't have staff around on weekends to monitor those kinds of things.
Is it
Um,
weekend complaints though, or during the week if it's daycare?
It's both.
Summertime, it's
Yeah.
weekdays for sure.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
We get complaints, about how to monitor the actual usage level of the splash pad.
A lifeguard at the
regardless.
splash pad.
And again, we do have a part-time person that helps us out during the summer, but that's
Yeah.
more for operational
Right,
assistance. So making sure the chemicals are right on the pad. It's not they're not standing there the whole day.
And making sure that the usage is not exceeding the max capacity according to the licensure. So,
Right. That's just a number.
but that's just a number. It's not any other relation to those individuals that is being monitored, whether it be admission to the
Right.
splash pad or to the park. And that's never been something that's been monitored.
Right.
But the concerns have been related to, it's a taxpayer amenity. A taxpayer-funded amenity, and although much of it was grant-funded, it has become much bigger than a grant-funded installation. And we've hired a staff member, as Joe mentioned, and there's a lot of maintenance involved. So it's a real concern from several residents, and it's worthy of staff-level conversation at this point. So that's where we're at.
So another perspective on it is that it's something that makes our town a destination. Brings in, I don't know how to quantify it, but I would think
Well, there
that,
would be no way to, but I know where you're going with it, for sure.
I mean, one of the things I think we've been trying to do with all the different things we're trying to do, what DSC is trying to do, is we're trying to make the town more of a destination hub, and certainly by having one of the only free splash pads in the county.
The word is out.
That's right, word's out, and we have a lot of people congregating and coming into the community. And that's not necessarily all a bad thing. It can help our downtown.
Absolutely.
And so there's, I just want to balance out the
No,
discussion
it's
a
very
little
true,
bit.
and I appreciate that. It's a good point to raise, and it's also something to the effect of, something to the effect of a conversation I have already had with Joe as a result of a couple emails from residents. So it's a very good point. And in fact, just at the farmer's market myself on Sunday, had a conversation with a Parkside resident whose sister was visiting, and they were at the farmer's market, but the sister had 4 children with her husband at the park. So I mean, it's impossible to quantify, but certainly worthy as to be part of the conversation.
Can I ask one other question related to that? Are there any issues with people wanting to rent out the pavilion and they can't because it's already occupied?
As far as I know, we haven't gotten any kind of calls or complaints about that.
Okay.
Now, when we do rent the pavilion, it is for the whole day. We don't separate it out. So
Oh,
it's usually
okay.
when somebody rents it for the day, they usually use it for the day.
And again, for the record, I believe to my memory is, and Joe will correct me if I'm mistaken, my memory is that not too long ago, the council approved a change in the rental rates and fees with respect to the pavilions in the parks, and that there is no difference between resident and non-resident, so that was a recent change as well.
Yeah, I was just concerned that if we have people coming to utilize our park, which it's public, but you have somebody that's paid a fee to rent a pavilion, they get there and they can't because visitors
Right.
came to occupy it.
Right.
That's where
That
I was
was your
going with that.
specific question. Got
If
it.
it's happening, obviously the weekends would be when that would be happening. If it's happening, the people that have rented it have told the people that have not rented it, and they've left.
Okay.
Because again, we haven't, as far as I know, gotten any complaints or comments about it.
And we do have a policy for how to handle that when it does happen. Everybody who rents gets the non-emergency release number,
Got
and
it.
they're told to request a Sykesville officer to come and assist.
Thank you, clerk. Perfect. Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
So I had one follow-up on the first topic that we talked about. Will the working session be publicized?
It
Or
will
not? It will be. Okay. And that answers where I was going with it is a lot of folks are interested in when the restaurant may open.
Sure.
And if it's going to be publicized, well, then they'll hear the conversation if we have the
It'll be
conversation.
treated very similarly to our strategic planning sessions.
Got it.
We have the agenda
Thank you.
set.
Great, thank you. So that brings us to our public safety report. Chief Spalding, if you wouldn't mind taking the microphone at your leisure. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I have No questions this time, which,
Well, there is an absentee here this evening.
yeah, may explain it.
Yes. I'm sure he would have forwarded his questions to you on
Yes,
his
he would.
birthday, despite the fact he's not here. Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
But a very busy public safety report, as you can see. Covers a period of June 3rd through the 30th. 1,000, we broke that 1,000 limit, 1,049 events, which is quite a few for that almost 1 month period. Just a few highlights. We had 12 assist other agency, 11 community policing, 44 foot patrols, 601 patrol checks, 78 traffic enforcement initiatives, and again, a total of 1,049, as well as 17 incident reports that were written during that period. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Just have a comment, Chief. Thank you for seeing to it that all 12 of those assist other agencies were logged in a manner that we
We're
could
trying,
tell
Mayor.
who those other agencies were. So for the edification of the public, I believe, if my memory is, 9 of those 12 were Carroll County Sheriff's Department, and the other 3 were Maryland State Police. So very good.
I want to, just for public's edification as well, the police report, it says May 21st through June 2nd. I'm assuming that's an error.
That is in there. No, it should be June 3rd through the 30th, I believe.
I believe the numbers are correct. I think it's just the date that
Yes.
is not.
So June 3rd to the 30th, so 27, 28
Glad you
days.
caught that. Thank you.
Good deal. Thank you, President Cole.
Any questions about any of the incident reports?
Nope.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I will dive right into a discussion about automated license plate readers. They've been around for quite a long time. I remember when I was with the state police, we were using them then. I think in the state of Maryland, there's close to 700 of these devices out and about on major highways. You go through them every day, and you probably don't realize it, but they are an excellent investigative tool, and one that has become available to us here in Carroll County thanks to a grant that the Carroll County Sheriff's Office applied for that covers the purchase of the equipment. Again, I guess the one thing that's somewhat strange is that it's being the server's being used from the town of Denton. And I spoke with, I guess how this works is you have the readers that are both mobile and fixed. We have 2 mobile readers that'll be on 2 of our cars that are actually already on 2 of our cars. It reads a tag, okay? The LPRs only read tag images. They're not looking at the occupants, they're just capturing an image of a tag. And then there's data behind that as in terms of whether the vehicle or the tag is stolen, whether it's that vehicle is registered to a wanted person or a missing person or endangered person, or whether there's any violations that are associated with that tag. So what our officers do when they get the alerts is they have to then confirm any information that comes through the LPR hit. So it's not probable cause to stop a car just because we get an LPR hit for a brown Ford with a certain tag. The officer then they can use that hit as reason to observe the vehicle. It kind of brings it to our attention that, hey, there may be violations here. And then the officer has to develop probable cause to stop the vehicle, which is usually done through running the tag through MVA and through NCIC to determine what violations are associated with that tag. Then the officer then can stop the vehicle and have a conversation with the owner, find out what the situation is, and take enforcement action. I did want to point out that on this public safety report, there was one case, and you probably didn't realize it because it's not annotated, but there was one case where Officer Hoppe had an LPR alert. It was, I guess you guys still don't have that in front of you, but it was case number 00114. She received an alert for a vehicle tag that had a suspended license. On the tag. She was able to confirm that through MVA, stopped it, and ended up issuing citations for it. So it is a system that is proven, it works. It's a force multiplier for us. It's extra eyes on tags that we don't always have time to run every tag we see and stop every vehicle we see, but it's a great way for us to be made aware of violations, and it's also a great way for us to, you can enhance security with it. Say if we had a town event where there was some fear of terrorism, if a tag is associated with potential terrorists, that would come up as a hit as well. Or if the tag was associated with somebody that had done other things that we wanted to be aware of, that would be information that would be provided to us. So it's a great tool. It's been in use for a long time. Again, it's just recently here in Carroll County. From my standpoint, it's a no-brainer for us because it doesn't cost us anything. We're simply end users of the system. Our officers have to be trained in the use of it, so it can't just be anyone that uses it. It has to be trained. It has to be installed on the car. And then we also have probably Sergeant Kirkner, I think he knows this, is going to have to go to train-the-trainer training to deal with some of the other programming issues the systems can be set up for different programming and configurations and accessing, and Sergeant Kirkner will have to go to some training for that. So the end users can't make any modifications to the system. It has to be done by somebody who's been trained in it. So it's a great tool. One I'm happy to have here in town, and I think it'll be beneficial to us in many regards.
And Chief, you took a deep dive, and we all appreciate it, but you started to talk about why the servers in Denton.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
I was off on a tangent.
No,
there.
it's good.
So I spoke with Vicki McDonald. She's the director of the Administrative Services Bureau for the Carroll County Sheriff's Office. She's kind of the one that's overseeing this program for them and us. And the reason why Denton is being used is simply because they had a grant for a server and bought a huge server. And what MCAC is, the Maryland Coordination and Analysis Center, they oversee this program for the whole state of Maryland. So everything has to go through MCAC. What MCAC would prefer is to have regional servers all throughout the state that this data runs through before it goes to MCAC. So they were trying to find a regional server in Western Maryland, but unfortunately couldn't find one, and nobody really took the initiative to get one. Denton happened to have one that was available, so that's why Denton is being used. It's just the server that the information passed through before it goes to MCAC. So MCAC is they're kind of the central repository for all the data. They're the ones that do the audits. There's an annual report that's required every year, which gives all the statistics about the alerts and actions and so forth. And they're the ones that would have to do an audit on all the data. Anybody that has a server is subject to being audited, so that in this case it won't be us. And they handle the analysis of the data. It's called a query, is when you could contact MCAC, and Sergeant Lacey has done this on several of our cases. Involving stolen vehicles, you can run a query through MCAC. So if we have a stolen vehicle was stolen here in town, you can go through MCAC and say, hey, we had this make and model and year and tag of a stolen vehicle from Sykesville, and we can search the LPRs all around in the entire state and see where that vehicle has traveled. It's a very good tool for us to kind of help track suspects that steal vehicles.
And so our MOU is with the Denton Police Department or with the MCAC?
Yes, there's actually two MOUs. One is with just all the agencies in Carroll County. All 6 municipalities are participating in it, and the Sheriff's Office, and with Denton. So that's one part of it. There's another MOU that's required through the state of Maryland that has to do with national criminal information. That's just basically a similar MOU that we use for not divulging criminal information and all the safeguards on that sort of thing. So 2 MOUs are needed for us. I don't think you guys need to sign the second MOU. I think that's just with me.
I don't want to sign it.
And then the training is required, which you've already had done. And other than that, we're free to use them. So it's a very easy process for us.
Okay. Any other questions from council for Chief Spaulding?
I have a couple of questions.
Please.
So one of the questions I have is, we just saw 1,049 things on our PSR. By having this tool, any thoughts on what's going to happen with that, with the number of traffic enforcements?
Since Officer Hoppe has been using this system, and it's been kind of in the training stage now, but The case I referred to is the only one that I'm aware of where she actually got an alert and took action on it. So I don't see it increasing our numbers a whole lot.
Okay.
What I do see it is as a tool to help us get people off the road and that shouldn't be driving. You know, uninsured motorists, people with suspended or revoked licenses, wanted persons, things of that nature. So I don't see it as a way to increase our numbers or that it'll have a significant increase in our numbers. I just see it as another tool that we can use.
Where I was going with it was, do we have the resources in case we saw a tick up?
Absolutely.
As we move forward. So in a hypothetical situation, let's say that a person forgets to contact MVA to have their tags updated, as an example. I think I've seen over the last week or so, at least 2 or 3 of those as I've been driving around or on a trailer or something like that.
With expired stickers.
That's
And I don't think the
expired
system
stickers.
covers that, but
So it doesn't cover that.
expired tags. It would be something more serious. Either the registration has been suspended on the vehicle,
Okay.
or the operator of the vehicle's driver's license has been suspended or revoked.
Okay.
So it's more serious offenses than just routine minor infractions.
Clerical issues, yeah.
Okay.
But there's still a conversation with the operator. Sometimes they may not know their license was suspended or their registration was suspended. There'll be a conversation and they may be able to provide proof that, hey, I just went to MVA, I just renewed my tags. It's not, there's discretion involved on the officer's part, and all our officers do a great job of using that. So it's not immediately going to amount to a citation in every circumstance.
Yeah. And where I was headed with that was sort of broken window theory and whether or not we were going to pursue the use of broken window theory as part of the process with going down these pipelines. But it doesn't sound like it.
No, I see it as a valuable tool. Again, we've had several vehicles stolen in town. We've had several thefts from vehicles, and I just see it as another tool that we can use to hopefully apprehend these people that commit these crimes and take some action against them.
So then the last question is, so I know we've got a couple mobile ones. Any thoughts on strategically locating, and not to maybe say publicly, but on fixed ones, so that, because that could help with figuring out that stolen car sort of situation, at least if they're driving through Main Street, I would think.
Well, it's part of the sheriff's plan to have fixed LPRs on
Somewhere
just
in the
about
county.
every main artery that comes into the county.
Okay,
Excellent.
great. That's
we
all I
don't
need.
have any plans to have fixed ones here.
Yeah,
But again, even though it's mobile, it can be used as a fixed, if you set up somewhere and just sit for a couple hours.
Sure.
But the good news is you can move it around as needed.
got it. Thank you.
So did you mention warrants?
Say again?
Did you mention warrants?
Yeah.
So-
Warrants, like an arrest warrant for a person?
So those can be connected to the registration owner, so it may or may not be the person
Correct.
driving, but
That's
it
why the
will be
officer-
the owner of the vehicle.
The officer has to match the person with the wanted person. That's where the work would come in on the officer's part to get an MVA photo or photo of the person. So
So it's not
again,
just the driver's infractions, it could be
Correct.
something else.
correct. It's any violations associated with that vehicle tag.
Got it.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other thoughtful questions for Chief
Well,
Small?
just Chief, having fielded many, many databases, I expect you to see a slight increase until all your people are used to it, and then you'll level off, and that'll become the new normal.
And I want to thank you for attending. They had a session at the summer conference where First Sergeant Keith Johnson, who is actually the supervisor of the MCAC unit, provided a presentation. I appreciate you sitting in on that. It was kind of a terrible place to do it in the middle of the expo hall. It was very loud and
Nice
noisy.
and quiet?
What's that?
Nice and quiet?
Yeah.
It's like being in a pasture
No echo
with a lot of
chamber?
In the
cows.
middle of the expo hall.
Yeah,
right?
no
It's like,
no
what did you do
echo
to
issue at
tick
all.
everybody off? They gave you a terrible place to do a presentation, right in the middle of the expo hall. But we sat through it, and I think he answered some of your questions. And he's a great resource to have as we move through this program with any questions that we may develop on our end.
Excellent. Thank you, Chief.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Joe,
you,
do we
everyone.
need a vote to authorize the MOU or anything like that?
Yeah, it's the easiest thing, just because it's on the agenda.
Okay, so all in favor, given all this information from Chief Spalding to authorize the MOU between the town and the county? Sheriff's Department specifically, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great.
Mayor, sorry, did you get a first and second?
Ooh, that's true.
I'll first that motion.
And I will second it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
no, I hadn't.
Let's
Wait,
do it
I
again.
am off my game.
You're off your game. I was wondering, but I didn't want to say anything, but you always correct.
Right to the vote, I was ready for it.
Well,
You were
thank you
rolling.
so much for that, clerk, and thank you for the first and second, and I'm sure you've logged that accordingly. Okay, great. And it's still in a unanimous.
We need to vote again, don't we?
Do we need
We
to
need
vote
to vote
again?
again, yes.
Okay, now we have a first by Councilman Keenan and a second by Councilman Dyer. All in favor of the motion on the table, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, this one was for real.
Carries on our game.
Yes, anything else, Chief? We're good?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank
Unless
you.
you have anything else for me.
No, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. That brings us to our council committee reports, and I will begin at my far left and ask for Councilman Dyer to share anything worthy of sharing.
Only that the local Comcast is going to be increasing prices. What a surprise.
Now, who's Comcast?
They're Xfinity. They
yes,
provide television and network services. Let's see, Gaia, which I don't even know about. Warner's, Discovery, and Max are going to go up anywhere from $1 to $3, but it's typical of this time.
Sure.
Um,
And it's so hot out, everybody's watching TV, so let's take advantage.
yeah,
of
might
that.
as well go for it.
Thanks, Councilman Dyer.
That's it.
Appreciate you. Councilman Smith.
So there was a planning commission meeting last Monday, and what we did was we focused on some upcoming work that's planning to come to the planning commission. And there's a number of projects that are in different stages of progress. And what we got was a brief update about them, and I want to focus on two.
Okay.
So the projects that are out there are the Schoolhouse Road project, the Joy property, and we're waiting on developer to send in plans, and not, pretty run-of-the-mill sort of things as we're moving forward. The one that wasn't as much of run-of-the-mill was in reference to Parkside at Warfield and the Enclave project. So the Enclave project is the new project that we're looking to build out 47 townhomes, what would it be, directly west of the Parkside project. And we haven't received the next stage of plans for that as of yet. And we haven't received that because there's still stormwater management work going on the Parkside project. And what we've learned is that the developer is, so they're working with the county and with the town now in reference to working out a stormwater mitigation strategy. And the stormwater mitigation strategy will likely, we don't know this for sure, but will likely not be sufficient within that parcel that Parkside's on. And they're hoping to make up for the stormwater management issues in the Enclave project. And so when we get the Enclave project, there will be some sort of a overage for stormwater management that will be addressing the issues that are experienced in Parkside. And so if you were to watch back that session, we peppered Kevin with all kinds of questions, and he probably was feeling it even the next day. And maybe I was one of the people peppering him quite vociferously, because it was a little concerning that we didn't catch this sooner. There were a number of complaints that different people, including myself, had raised during construction at Parkside, and it just seemed sort of interesting might be the wrong word, about why we're just learning about these things now. All that said, the county is, the developers moving ahead at their own risk. They're going to, I think, receive all the paperwork that they need after the work is further down the road, and we should be seeing the plans for both the Parkside project and the Enclave project coming back to the Planning Commission, because they need to update both sets of plans, at some point in the future. We're not exactly sure when we're going to see those plans, but again, it should be sometime soon. Just want to make sure that the council was aware in case any questions are coming in from any of the residents that you're getting any questions from any of the residents about, like, what are they doing or why are they doing it? The strategy for increasing the stormwater management is to change the sloping for the pits where the water goes into, with the
It's
idea,
not preferential, right, preferred right now, the way they,
well, it doesn't catch enough water right now, so they need to capture more water, and the idea of it is, and I'm not some sort of engineer, so if I'm saying this stuff technically jarbled, Joe will correct me, although I don't think you're an engineer either, but it's all good. We're gonna do the best we can. But with a little bit different slope, more pitch slope, the idea is that we'll catch more of the water, but it won't be enough of the water that gets captured in those, I'm calling them stormwater pits, but it's, places where we catch the water.
they're supposedly retention ponds, but they're usually just dry wells
Right.
in the courtyard area between, yes.
And so that's the idea, and again, they'll make up for it up the hill. They've asked the obvious question, does the water go
Up the
down
hill?
the hill? But yeah, I mean, the enclave project is up the hill, right? So I think, I talked to Kevin afterwards, and I think the idea of it is that if you catch some of the water up the hill, then it doesn't get down the hill, right? So I think that's some of the thought pattern in reference to how it works. Again, I'm not claiming to be an engineer and having it all figured
Well,
out.
I am an engineer, but not that kind, but it doesn't, I would have expected it below instead of above. That's why I'm puzzled.
I just don't think there's enough topographical geography to
Well,
capture it below.
and again, I mean, this is why we're kind of waiting on the plans from the
That's right.
county to make sure that we understand exactly what's happening there. Because there hasn't been information that's been shared with us from the county, and the people that actually review those plans is why we might not have all of the answers that we need.
Okay.
What happens if phase 2 of the development is delayed? There's an issue now.
Or what happens
There
if,
is no phase 2 of anything, so Parkside is its own project. I think it's clear that Enclave isn't gonna move forward until there's an understanding of what's gonna happen at Parkside. The town still holds a bond on Parkside, there's still money that's held in case, something doesn't operate the way it needs to operate. We can always call the bond, but we're not even close to that point yet. I think now it's just the developer working through the process that they have available to them to make sure that, if what was built isn't what's on the plans, it's figuring out exactly how to mitigate those discrepancies and make whatever corrections they need to make. Submit those plans to the county to see if it meets the standards that are imposed and enforced by the county. And then bring it to the planning commission to make sure that we are also in agreement with what changes have been made. Only then would we even open the door for, now what's gonna happen at Enclave?
Okay.
and part of the issue that we had at the planning commission is that they didn't come to the planning commission first to give us the plans and show us what they're doing right now. And so, we were wondering what the process should be and that sort of thing. And again, we peppered Kevin with a lot of questions. It wasn't totally fair to do that, but nonetheless, we asked him. And he did a great job with answering them. He did a fantastic job, actually. And we left, I think, seeing what will happen next.
Right.
So I'm definitely concerned about lack of transparency with the developer and then them working
So the
on the second.
developer has been working with the county. There's just,
understand,
there
but
was a
with- in
communication
terms of-
issue.
Yeah, we want to make that very clear. They're not doing something without anybody's knowledge. They were
Right.
working with the Department of Stormwater Review with the county. It was the fact that that information then wasn't being transferred to us from the stormwater folks at the county, that they were working on a project in town that we didn't know that was happening. That's at least our concern.
So you think it's the county responsibility versus the developer to inform?
I don't think any work should happen in town through a county department that isn't letting us know that work is happening.
Okay.
Here.
And this is not the first example of that happening. It might be the first in a while for stormwater management, but it's not the first example of county communication with the town being absent.
You're up, Slugger.
Yes, sir?
You're up, Slugger.
Yes.
We need to make sure they don't never do that again.
Correct.
To you and them.
Yeah. And so
I have a phone number.
if they hadn't purchased the second property, and there isn't this, because it sounds like they're using the second property to mitigate the first
Well,
property.
again, I not to
It
not to
sounds
cut you
like
off,
it.
there is simply not enough information for us to
Correct.
draw any conclusion
Okay.
at all about what is actually happening.
It's just that one is affecting the other in the sense that the latter cannot be approved or moved forward until this first plan is corrected and passed and approved.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you watch the playback of the planning commission meeting, what I reported out on was explained as the Enclave project would be used as a sort of
Well, they're using it to help
Overage.
mitigate
that's right.
the issue.
That's
and
what
that's
was
what I'm saying.
explained,
Like,
and that's why I want to make
if they
sure
hadn't
council
purchased
knows.
that, then then
Well,
we
I
would've,
mean, but it was, and so we are where we are, and it seems like there's a communication issue, and the town's aware of it, town's working on it.
Okay.
And we'll keep everybody in the loop as we hear more information as we move forward.
Appreciate you, Councilman.
That's all I have.
Schofield. Thank you. Council
I
President.
have nothing.
So
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec. I think we need a name tag for Sparky during his public appearances because we get a lot of questions as to what it is.
I guess because he was
So we
sitting
were-
on his fluffy tail. You
Well, he
didn't
was
see.
hitting everyone in the house with the fluffy tail
Okay.
because it's attached. But I know we get questions.
Sparky doesn't talk.
Sparky doesn't.
No.
Well, no, we heard a lot. So we absolutely enjoyed. Spark absolutely enjoyed coming, being part of the parade. But we heard a lot from the community or the children in the community going, "What is that?" And a lot of questions, a lot of ideas about what it could be.
It's got that look of being a furry. That's I think where the concern is coming from.
It does.
I didn't hear that from the kids.
Okay.
I didn't hear that from the kids at all. But
Thank goodness.
yeah, I just
You brought it up.
I did not bring that up. I just said a name tag would be helpful
Yes.
in some fashion.
Like a nameplate or like a.
Well, I'm sure a gold
Maybe a
rapper's
banner.
name would be
I like
great,
that.
but
Let's do that.
but something might be helpful because at every event I've just noticed we get questions as to what animal it represents and the connection with Parks and Rec.
Well, for
So
me, it's
I
just-
think if there's some way, a jersey, a name, I don't know, but
It's evidence of Sparky getting more attention because Sparky looks better. Because we had no questions when
Yeah.
something that didn't look.
like anything.
The radial thing.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Anyway, so we definitely enjoyed. I wasn't planning on conversation in that direction, but we definitely enjoyed being part of the parade. And we have 2 movies coming up: Saturday, July 13th, Jurassic Park,
Yes.
and Saturday, August 10th, Mighty Ducks.
Yes. Well done. Those are both my votes. If I could have made one. Jurassic Park's my fave. Anything else?
That's it.
Awesome. Thank you. Oh, and what time of that? What time of the evening on both of those?
It's sunset.
evenings? Sunset. So that changes as the time goes on.
Correct, because we need it to be dark.
Excellent. Councilman Keenan,
Yes.
the Downtown Sykesville Connection Liaison. Do you have a
Thank
report?
you. Just some follow-up with the DSC. There'll be an email coming out soon about a Doors of Sykesville poster pre-sale. The poster looks pretty good. On June 19th, Troop 1290 conducted a composting session out here on the town steps. All the details can be found on our online platform, and I think they're looking to have another session on July 17th. We'll feature another composting expert. We got our Juneteenth celebration, which was a significant success. They are looking maybe for the next time to have more entertainment and activities and have it in a more specific location like Millard Cooper Park as opposed to downtown.
More shade, please.
More shade,
I was gonna say,
yes,
yeah,
more
that-
shade,
yeah,
yes,
it was
that
a
would
little
help as
hot.
well. Left Freedom Ring Parade was a great success despite the sound system. It was well attended. I think everybody had a good time. It was really done well. We had a nice variety of groups this time. I
We
think everybody
did.
had a good time.
I think it was the best one so far,
Mhm.
with variety of floats
Yep, yep.
and participants. Thank you.
Sippin' on Summer is coming up at the end of the month. Tickets are on sale now, and we still need volunteers for that as well. And that's it.
Thank you. And I guess that brings us to the end because our birthday boy is in here this evening. Happy birthday, Al. Happy birthday, Councilman Grassley, to be official. It's his 72nd. And that brings us to the end of our council committee reports. My updates are that I just want to throw this out there to my council that I would like to discuss in the future. I'll begin with staff in doing so, but a new parking policy for our public lots and for Main Street parking. I'd like to prohibit long-term parking without permits in our public lots. Perhaps limit it to 8 consecutive hours in a 24-hour period. with maybe no overnight parking, so on and so forth, and make it something that's obviously enforceable without being over prohibitive. But we do have a few problems with some long-term parking. I would call it abuse for years, and we need our parking spaces for daily use. So just throwing that out there.
Are you talking about people coming into town and leaving vehicles in the public, or are you talking about
I am not
residents?
talking about that, though. That may be an issue I'm not aware of, but I'm talking about specifically cars being parked in the parking lot for days and weeks and months and years at a time. We pay to update our parking lots and maintain them, and just with our new lining, it's occurred to me that it's time for some change. So that's where I'm at. Next is closed session. The meeting is proposed to be closed pursuant to the general provision article of Annotated Code of Maryland, section 3-305B, number 3, to consider the acquisition of real property for a public purpose and matters directly related thereto, and number 8, to consult with staff, consultants, or other individuals about pending or potential litigation. And we're going to do those in reverse order. We'll start with the pending litigation / Warfield lawsuits. And then we will move on to the real property consideration of purchasing property within town limits. I will call for a 5-minute recess at this time, and we'll reconvene and go into closed. Okay?
And if there's any decisions made, we'll go back into open session.
If there are any decisions made that require voting, yes. But we will certainly return to open so that we can adjourn. Okay?
Motion for 5-minute recess?
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Excellent. I'm sure we needed one, but all in favor of a 5-minute recess?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, here we go. It is